Welcome into the Flippin' Hippos reseller channel. I'm Star. If you are new here or you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and hitting the thumbs up, as it does help us feed our hungry hippos. I'm going to preface today's video with letting you know that the thumbnail was a joke. It's an inside joke from my group of friends that I go to the listing parties almost perfectly with, and a conversation we had actually led to the topic of this video. So while I usually am right, the thumbnail is a joke. But we were talking about delisting and relisting. And years ago, it was considered bad business practices. It was considered not good to delist, relist. All the industry experts told you that. Longtime viewers will probably remember I came out with a video. I used to do a series called Unpopular Reseller Opinions. And one of the videos I did on there was explaining why delisting and relisting worked for us, our business model, and what we do since 2017. I did an experiment in 2021 for about 9 months. I didn't delist, relist. Our sales tanked. Why did I let it go on for 9 months? Well, we were in the middle of moving. A lot of stuff was going on. So we just let it ride and kept our eye on what was going on. Once we moved back to Pennsylvania, I said 21, I meant 2022. So in 2022, we did the experiment. We got back here in October of 2022, and we immediately started delisting, relisting again, and our sales went up. So that time frame where we were not doing it, our sales tanked by about 20%. Could it be related to the fact that we were moving and not listing as much? Maybe. But from 2017 through 2022, it always worked for us. And when we started delisting, relisting again, our sales went up 30%. So I feel like it's always worked. That was always my defense. And I'm going to tell you that right now. We're going to talk about some best business practices and things that I think every seller should do for success. But I want you to know very clearly, if anything I say goes against something that you're doing that is working for you, keep doing what you're doing. And that was my thing with the delisting, relisting. Even if all of the industry experts and the podcasts and the other YouTubers were telling me I was wrong, if it was working for me and I was making money, I didn't care if it was wrong or if I was wrong, because to me, it wasn't wrong. It was working. So you have to keep that in mind when you are listening to other resellers. It is 1000% important that you are part of the community. Whether you're in Facebook groups, a local eBay meetup group, if you use List Perfectly, all of their listing parties, or the reseller university as I call it, are free and included with your subscription. You can go there and meet with other peers and learn, or you can be a part of the community by going to other in-person events or being on Instagram. There's even a reseller community on TikTok, believe it or not. You can watch other YouTubers. It's important and it's imperative. I can tell you that every time I've gotten together with a group of resellers, I've learned something new. Or I've heard about a way of doing something differently that makes more sense than what I'm currently doing. So it is important. But always keep in mind that as you're listening to other sellers and as you're learning and as you're seeing how other people do things and hearing about their successes, if it doesn't make sense for you or your business, you don't have to do it. And if what you are doing is paying your bills and putting food on your table, and someone says you're doing it wrong, you're not. Even if you're the only one like me for 8 years that delisted and relisted when everyone was telling you it was wrong, if it's working for you, it's not wrong. I can't express that enough. Anyway, it is now generally accepted by all industry professionals that a best business practice, even for eBay, is to delist, relist. So here we are in 2025. I was right the whole time. That's okay. I did it when it worked for me and I didn't listen to anyone, and that's what's important. That's what's important. Can I say it one more time, louder for those of you in the back? If everyone tells you you're wrong and your sales are bad and you're not making enough profit and you can't figure out why you're not selling enough, maybe it's time to change it up and do something new. If someone teaches you something new that you've never tried before, try it. But if what you're doing is working, you don't have to change yourself just because everyone else says you're wrong. If what you're doing is working and someone mentions something you've never tried before, sure, try that too. Don't change what's working, add new things. That's pretty much the point of today's video. In a listing party last week with a group of other resellers, we were discussing the delisting, relisting, and it jokingly came up that Star is always right. And we started talking about other best business practices and other things you can do expressly with eBay to increase your sales, increase your visibility, increase your profits. And I started talking about all the things I do. And several of the people were like, you do all of that? And I said, yes. I don't think there's any one business practice you can do on its own that's going to guarantee you success. I think it's a culmination of being consistent with several different best business practices and doing them all at once that allows you to have the best success, the best visibility, the best profits. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you about there's basically 4 best business practices that I do all the time, every day, in conjunction with each other. And they all seem to work together as a group to make us successful. I really feel like if you took one of these 4 things out and only did the other 3, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. So that is, we run sales, we delist, relist daily, we have best offers on, and we list every day. I think those are the 4 core best business practices that everyone should be doing all the time. I don't think sales should be only ran on holidays or weekends. I think they should be run 24/7. We're going to talk about that. I think delisting, relisting should be done every day. With the asterisk, if you ever have a day where a lot is going on and you have not enough time to both delist, relist, and put up new listings should always be the priority. You should have your best offers on. We're going to talk about that more in depth. And you should be listing every day. So these are the 4 things that we do 24/7 around the clock. And I'm going to go into more depth on how I do each one specifically. It's going to sound convoluted. It's going to sound complicated, probably because it is. I am a type A personality, and everything I do has to be extra and has to have steps and reasonings behind it. But what I will tell you is I'll try to explain it as best I can to make it easy for you if you want to try my methods and emulate this and add it to what you're already doing to see if you can't increase your sales, increase your profits. Because if you increase your visibility, that's what's going to happen. And then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about promoted listings because that's probably something we should all be doing as well. But I don't think it's part of the core 4, but it is there. And then, of course, there's free returns. There's good pictures. There's the amount of pictures you're taking. There's a lot of other good or best business practices we should all be doing. But these are what I like to call the core 4. And then we'll touch on promoted. So why should you be running sales around the clock? For several reasons. 1, it boosts your listings and searches. Allegedly. So the search engine on eBay is named Cassini, Cassini, and that's how I refer to her, by her name. So if you hear me say Cassini, it's the same as me saying the search algorithm, the way it's coded to work, what gets preferential treatment what gets pushed up to the top when buyers are searching for items. Having a sale on your item will give it that preferential treatment. So if you and I both had the same exact Beetlejuice tumbler and they were the same exact price, yours is $19.99, mine is $24.99 with a 20% off sale, also coming in at $19.99. We both charge $4 for shipping. We both have free returns. Everything else is the same. Mine is still going to show up ahead of yours because it has a sale on it. Unless the buyer fiddle farts around with the search, obviously. So don't come at me in the comments and say, but what if the buyer sorts by price or free shipping? I'm saying on a fair playing ground, if they just type in Spirit Halloween Store, purple Beetlejuice tumbler with straw. If everything is identical, but I'm running a sale, mine's going to show up first. So sales do get you preferential treatment, get your listings a boost in the searches. Number 2, the second reason why sales are good, psychology. Buyers like a sale. So going back to my example with this cup, mine being on sale is going to trigger something in a buyer's brain. They think they're getting a deal. Human nature. Humans like to get a deal. Humans like to get the last word. Humans like to get one over. Just generally speaking, that's how human beings work. So when they see a sale, when they're getting a deal, they're going to buy. I'm even guilty of that. Okay. So let's say I go on to Tarte Cosmetics and I just need a new eyeshadow palette, but I see that the concealer I like is half off. And if I buy it today, I get a free applicator brush. I'm going to buy the concealer. It's on sale. I get a free brush. I get free shipping. Of course I'm going to buy more. It's psychology. You want to have higher sales too. Let's talk about that very briefly. These 10% and 15% sales, think about yourself. If you walk into Target and they're having a sale, whether it's food, clothing, household items, whatever they're shopping for that day, a new air fryer. If they're having a sale and it's 10% or 15% off, I might go over and look. Of course, it's a sale. But if it's 20% off or 25% off or 30 or more, woohoo! This is a big sale. I'm more inclined to shop. So your sales should be bigger. That being said, your sales should not really be sales. Oh my gosh, Star, that's dishonest. No, it's not. Big box stores do it. Walmart does it. Grocery stores do it. Everyone does it. Does everyone doing it make it okay? Yeah, because it's not really dishonest. I think it's probably like a morally gray area maybe, but I need to play into the psychology of buyers. And so I need to have these 20 and 25% off sales. And in order to do that, I have to price higher. I don't think it's dishonest because I can price anything anywhere I want and run a sale. It's a free market, right? eBay is a free market. I could put my cup up for $100. It doesn't mean it's going to sell for $100. And I may have to eventually run a 90% off sale on it. But I can price how I want. I can do what I want. So I do price high. First of all, that simply said, I price high. I go on the higher end of comps. But then I mark it up. So all of our items go in at 25% higher than what we want minus a penny. That's psychology also. They have proven with research that prices that end with the number 9 are more likely to sell and buyers viewed as cheaper. They round down. I don't know why they do, but they do. Research has proven this. $19.99 looks like 19 and 20 is 20. So I like my prices to end in 9. If you look in our store, we have some odd price things because it just happens that way over time when I mark stuff down, which I do also. We're going to talk about that. So if I have a pair of American Eagle jeans, for example, I know I want 20. Let me show you a calculator so we can do this real quick. Now, assuming that I'm doing free shipping, we're going to say that I am just going to list them for 20 free ship. I'm going to add 25%. So I know I need to put them in for $24.99. So that when I run my all the time, always on, around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week sale that we run for 20% off, they're going on sale for the exact price I wanted them for. So psychologically, the buyer thinks they're getting a deal. There is a sale on to give me a boost in searches, but I'm still getting the exact price I wanted. This still also gives me wiggle room for offers. Because if they're a $20 pair of jeans, I'm probably willing to go down to 17 or 18. So I can run the sale and still have room for offers and still make pretty much what I want without really losing money. Now we do actually run a 30% off sale Friday through Sunday. Our weekend sale is technically actually a sale because $17.49 is what they would be. For several reasons. 30% looks really good. Remember how we just talked about the higher the sale, the better? People shop more on the weekends. People do buy things that are priced lower. People get paid on Fridays. People drunk shop. All kinds of stuff goes on the weekend. So I like to run those sales. So we do price higher than what we want. You have to mark it up 25% to put it on sale for 20% to get the same price. So how do we run our sales? We have them stopping and ending every 3 days, very specifically for a very specific reason, and it's to create a sense of urgency. eBay allows you to set up sales that last for 45 days, technically. On the back end, if you go in and set up a sale, you can set it up for 45 days. If I'm a buyer and I find, we're just going to keep using this as the example. I'm a buyer and I find this today. And I see that your sale runs through the end of April. And this is a want, not a need. This is a want, not a need. I might click out. Probably more than likely, 90%, I'm going to click out. This is on sale until April. I have time to think about it. I have time to decide if I really want to spend the money on yet another cup when I have hundreds of them. Do I want a Beetlejuice cup, or maybe I actually want a Captain America cup? Now I have time to think. I have a full month and a half. I'm not coming back. I'm going to forget. So when your sales last for too long and a buyer is looking at your item and sees this sale goes for a long time, they're not going to buy it because they think they have time to think. They think that they can come back. They'll forget to come back. They almost always forget to come back. Unless it's a need and not a want. But most of us are selling want. Or they'll find the need somewhere else now with a more urgent sale. So let's talk about the urgency. If I find this today and I see that the sale ends tonight or tomorrow, I have a very limited window to buy this cup on that sale. The sale is going to end. The buyer does not know how you set up your store. The buyer does not know how you set up your sales. If this sale ends at 6 p.m. tonight and the next sale starts at 6:30 p.m. tonight, they don't know that. All they know, all they see is this sale ends tonight. I got to buy it now or I lose out on the sale. You're creating urgency. You're making them do it now, click now, buy now. It's impulse buy. So how we run our sales is Sunday night through Wednesday night. That's a little bit longer because there's 7 days in the week, so you can't split it up perfectly. Wednesday night through Friday night and Friday through Sunday. And I have them starting a half an hour after the last one stops. On the back end, when you're setting up your sales, I don't know if it still does. It used to tell you to give it 2 hours in between. I never have. I've always done a half hour. So Sundays at 6:30 p.m. through Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., 20% off. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. through Friday at 6 p.m., 20% off. And then that Friday, 6:30 p.m. to Sunday, 6:30 p.m. or 6 p.m. is 30% off. I don't think everyone needs to do the same time and days, but that's how ours is done. I do recommend higher sales on the weekends, on the holidays. Like if we have a federal holiday on a Monday, I'll run that 30% off that extra day. Because people are off work, they're home shopping. People drunk shop like on 4th of July, like you would never believe. So that's how we do it. And that's all Eastern time. The sales are set up on Pacific time, I believe. But I just go by what I want for Eastern time. But you can have them stop and start in the mornings. It doesn't have to be the evening. You can do it however you want to do it. But I absolutely recommend breaking it up into chunks like that, so that they're starting and stopping every like 3 days, give or take. There's a timer. It's red. So when a buyer is looking at your listing, again, that sense of urgency, this sale ends tonight or this sale ends in X amount of hours. And there's a countdown timer and they can see. That creates that urgency. So you don't want to run your sales all week or all month or for 45 days. And the first time you set this up, yes, it's a pain because you're having to set them up and think when you want to stop and start. The first time is the hardest. And then you just copy. You can copy your sales. So I go in once a week. For me, it's Friday mornings. That's just part of my routine. You would have to find a day that works for you and your routines. But you would just pick a day that you would go in and set your sales up for the week. And you just copy. They're all in there. They're ended. I do delete them. Someone did ask me that as well. If I just leave them all in there indefinitely, like just tons of dead. No, once they're ended and I've copied and everything for the week, I delete all the ones that are ended. So you have to set them up the first time. And then from there, you can just copy. So to reiterate about sales, you should have your sales on all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, starting and stopping every 2 to 3 days. Price high, so you can put them on sale. Higher percentage sales do better. You want to create urgency. And you want to set aside a time and make it a routine for yourself to remember to set these up every week. I do have a special sale for my clearance items. Now, this one does get set up and run for 45 days because I'm not trying to create any kind of urgency or have people buy it. It's really just a way for me to get rid of stale items. I created a special category, a store category called clearance, and I move items into that category. I have the 50% sale set up only to grab that category. If you're not familiar with how to set up sales, let me know in the comments. I think I have videos showing you how to do that. So my normal sales, those ones we've already talked about, exclude the clearance category. So I choose every category except clearance, that's excluded. That category specifically has a 50% off sale. And the reason I don't create urgency or worry about anything in there and let it run for 45 days is because that's really just me getting rid of stale stuff. So when I'm doing delisting, relisting, which we're going to talk about next, if an item is really old, when I relist it, I just put it in that category. It goes into the clearance. It's 50% off. It's just getting rid of it. We also do coupons, which are important. We have one coupon that's, I believe, 20% off. And we have set up our automatic feedback. So if you set up your automatic feedback to leave feedback for your buyers after they've paid, you can set it up to include a code. So ours says something, this isn't verbatim quoting, quote unquote, but it says something to the effect of, thank you for your order. Please enjoy 20% off your next purchase on us with code HIPPO. that gives that coupon code to that buyer specifically when they check their feedback. But do you know how many nosy people in this world look at feedback? A lot of us do. A lot of everybody does. So now every buyer that's ever bought something from you has in their feedback you saying, enjoy 20% off on us with this code. Now everyone that looks at that feedback that's curious may go to your store and use that code. It's just a way to kind of encourage more people to come and look and be looky-loos and nosy, and maybe they'll use the code. And then we do a newsletter, and we do some other things on the back end where we send out coupons every couple of months to previous buyers. And then every weekend, I have a coupon set up. If they buy 2 or more items, they get 50% off. You can do this too, or just 20% off. You can select the categories. You can keep it to just like, for instance, jewelry. It's lightweight, it's cheap, whatever you want to do. And I have that one run from Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern to Monday midnight. So Sunday night into Monday midnight. And then you can also set up shipping discounts if you're charging flat rate shipping on lightweight items. You can encourage them to buy more, which they'll do. For instance, with comic books. They don't want to pay $5.50 shipping for each comic book, but maybe they want episode 1 through 5 of Spider-Man. I just said episode like we're watching TV. You know what I mean? If they can buy all 5 and pay 1 flat rate of shipping, they're more likely to buy more. So you're encouraging them to buy more. My shipping discount is a flat rate of $7 on 2 or more items. You can limit it by category. So I have it limited only to comic books and jewelry. Just my lightweight items. I've had someone buy so many comics one time that it weighed over a pound, and still with my ground label, it was still only like $6.83 to ship, and they paid $7, so I was okay. I wouldn't recommend really doing that on heavier items unless you do a higher flat rate. So that's how I do my sales. That's the why. That's the how. That's the reasoning. So let's talk about delisting, relisting. We touched on it in the beginning that it is now considered best business practices across the board. Directly from the horse's mouth. I got this information from Trish Glynn, who works for List Perfectly, and she runs they have a mastermind listing party every morning. It's a Zoom call. It's a group of folks that get together every morning for accountability, setting goals, learning, and talking. And they've had guests on there from eBay, Mercari, and Poshmark. So directly from the people who work for these platforms that came to be a speaker at these mastermind meetings, after 60 days, a listing on Poshmark is stale. Meaning it's no longer really being seen in the searches. It's no longer hitting the algorithm. It's just stale. It's only 30 days on Mercari. And we all know how Mercari's offer system works as well. I've always said, even if you don't believe in delisting, relisting, it is imperative that you delist, relist on Mercari. Because the way their offer system is set up is so different than anywhere else. You get to a point where you can't send offers anymore. If you're not familiar, if I like your item today and you send me 10% off, and Keith likes your item tomorrow, you have to send 10% lower than the offer you sent me. Where like on Poshmark and eBay, it just sends out the offer to the new likers. So 60 days, a listing is stale on Poshmark. Only 30 days before it's stale on Mercari. And it takes about 6 to 9 months on eBay to become stale. So if listings become stale, and if algorithms are set up to give preferential treatment and a boost in the searches to new listings, then it stands to reason that you should be ending and relisting items. This is delisting, relisting. This is when you end items and put them back in. It makes them new again. Now they're a new listing. As far as eBay's search algorithm, as far as Cassini is concerned, she doesn't know that you just ended this and relisted it. She just sees it as a new listing, and she's giving it a push in the searches. And now it's not stale anymore. Now you've just given yourself another 6 months on eBay before it's stale again. So delisting, relisting is important. If you're using List Perfectly, you have to be very intentional in how you're doing this, because you'll break the connection, the ID number between the listing and List Perfectly, and you can screw up your catalog. That's a whole nother conversation. If you don't know how to do it on List Perfectly or using List Perfectly to keep the health of your catalog, let me know in the comments. I have videos that will help you out. But because some of my viewers don't use List Perfectly, we're just going to talk about delisting, relisting in general. Do I think it's easier with List Perfectly? Yes. Is List Perfectly sometime in the next few weeks coming out with a one-button click that will end and relist items on all platforms? Yes. So I really like List Perfectly. I think we should all be using it. You can try it for yourself for 30% off your first month with code flippinhippos. But everyone should be delisting, relisting no matter what. My personal opinion is you should be reworking the listing a little bit in some way. A lot of my older listings, each day when I delist them, I take a look. If it's old, if it's stale, I know I'm going to relist it in that clearance category on eBay so it can go 50% off. I'll change a couple of words in the title, just switcheroo. I'll change a couple of photos, switcheroo. Some of my older listings, I'm actually running through the List Perfectly AI to freshen the listing. It gives it a new description, a new title, new keywords, boom, in seconds. So I do think it's important that you touch it in some way and look at it. Like, don't just end and then put back in exactly the way they were. They've sat there for 6 to 9 months, 30 days, 60 days, whatever platform you're on or however long it takes you to get around to doing it. And they didn't sell. You know, the definition of insanity, Einstein said, was to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. If it already didn't sell once, why are you putting it back in the same exact way? Change something. One thing, small thing. Double check your prices. Sometimes the value of items can go up or down depending on the market, the popularity, fashion trends, movies coming out. So you can always change your price as well. You can just interchange 2 words in the title. Like, I like to put my jeans like to say skinny mid-rise. Maybe I'll change to say mid-rise skinny. And then you can put them back in. So how often should you really be delisting, relisting? Every single day. Every single day. With the exception, if life is happening and you don't have time to do the new listings and this, new listings always are more important. They always take precedence. They're always more, it's most important to put new stuff in. But if it's a normal work day and you have good routines in place and you have good work habits, you can do both. I do 20 a day, plus all my new listings. It's possible. So I do 20 a day. We have 5,000 active listings. If items don't sell, it takes me about 9 months to a year to work my way back around. I do use List Perfectly to do this. So I am able, remember how I said I changed just one thing? In the List Perfectly catalog, I'm able to look at the last time I edited a listing. And I can go oldest to newest. So I work my way through oldest to newest. The stuff that I touched last is about 9 months ago at this point. And I just do 20 a day. I think eBay lets you source by listing. So you can sort by date there too and just do your oldest first. It takes me about 9 months to a year. I have a lot of listings. I do 20 a day. I don't want to make delisting, relisting such a priority that I'm spending hours a day on it or doing tons of them a day. It's just something I want to do as part of my best business practices in my routines that I'm doing each day. So 20 is a good number. But by the time I get all the way around to the older stuff, it has been far longer than 6 to 9 months or 30 days or 60 days. So I have to decide what's best for me and my business. And the way I would tell you to do that, what's your best selling platform? Where do you sell the most items? Base your rules on that platform. If you have the time in your schedule to check the dates on these items in each platform and delist, relist each day based on this, by all means, please do that. I can't really factor that amount of time in my routine for that. I have to just say I'm going to the oldest and doing 20 a day. That's what I have time for. So I base it basically on eBay because that's my best-selling platform. So as long as it's within that 9-month period, I'm okay. If Poshmark's your best-selling platform, go 60 days. But see, you also have to look at how much active listings you have. If you're like me and you have 5,000, you're never going to be able to get around to it in 60 days. So what you can do with Poshmark is just make sure that you're sharing every single day and sending offers. That helps with the activity over there. That's the Poshmark best practices. List daily, delist, relist, share your closet, and send offers. Those are your Poshmark core 4. We'll talk about the core 4 for eBay, which is the sales, delist, relist, offers, and list consistently. It's pretty close, right? I don't recommend delist, relist for Etsy. Absolutely not at all, because they charge you per listing, and you're just going to give yourself, you're going to charge yourself more money than you need to. Leave your Etsy alone. So let's talk about offers. Never decline an offer. Why? Because it will push that item down into the search, allegedly. No one really knows how the searches work, but we've all heard the rumors. We've all done the experiments. We've all had friends who tell us what they do that works. But I can tell you, when you counter an offer, it gets a push. So when you decline an offer, that's it. It's done. When you counter it, it gets a push in searches. If they counter it back, it gets another. Every counter, every offer, and subsequent counter on an item will give it a push, a boost in the searches, because every single offer and counter offer on that item is a ding or an alarm to Cassini that is a desirable item and people are interested in it and it has offers. So you always want to counter. Even if you counter the same, they get like what, 5 offers to you? If you have to counter the same price 5 times and even attach a nice message that says, thank you for your interest in this item. This is as low as we can go. Thank you. Do it. But always, always counter. I don't care if they're a turd nugget and they keep offering you a penny and you keep going back with 2,500. Counter, 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 because you're getting a boost. That item in and of itself starts to look desirable, which can bring Cassini to believe that your store in general is desirable and give you a boost overall on all your listings. And another thing that's really cool, if you send that last offer to a buyer and they haven't come up to where you want, and they're probably never going to, if they don't decline you, which sometimes they will, but if they don't decline you, that's an open offer on an item that every other interested buyer will see. So let's say I've sent you an offer, a counter offer on this cup for $15, and you don't want to pay $15, but you don't decline it and you leave it sit. Every subsequent interested buyer or looky-loo that sees this cup is going to see that there is an open offer on it. What does that do? It creates urgency. If you see that an item you're interested in that you may want to purchase has open offers on it that somebody else may take up and buy before you, you're more inclined to think, I have to buy this right now. It's urgent that I buy it before they do. It's also back to the psychology of human nature, having to win, having to get one over, having to get the last word. They want to buy it before someone else can. If there's open offers on it, why should I let them have it? I want it. It's mine. I'm buying it. You always want to counter. And if the buyer doesn't want to come up to where you want, that's fine. Keep countering because you want them to leave that open on there so that it looks desirable and creates urgency for other people. And it's okay to keep countering back the same number. Really, it is. Create a response that you can copy paste on your phone and your computer that says what I said. Thanks for your interest. This is the lowest we can go. Thank you. Have a good day. And just copy and paste it. They'll either get the point and they'll come up to where you want to be, or they won't. But you've gotten all these boosts in the searches in the meantime, and now you have an open offer. It's good news. And the last thing you need to be doing of the core 4 is listing every single day. I always recommend people to schedule your listings on eBay as far out as you can. If you currently list 5 items a day, you could start listing 6, right? So that extra one you could schedule for tomorrow. And then tomorrow, if you're listing 6, you're going to have 2 extra that you could put on the next day. And then you do 6. Maybe you can do it 7. You just keep adding one day. You keep scheduling them out. Eventually, you'll build up a bank. It's really easy to do. It just takes determination and consistency, good habits, good routines, and a good work schedule. All the things that I've been telling you for years that are super important for your success. The key to success is consistency. And I hear from a lot of people all the time, well, consistency is not in my vocabulary. Well, then I guess success isn't in your category, in your vocabulary either, is it? Sounds a little rough when I say it out loud, but think about it. If consistency, if routines, if persistence, if dedication, if creating good habits, if all of these things don't exist in your world or in your vocabulary, guess what else doesn't exist for you? Success. Think about it. Consistency. An active store, an active closet is a happy store, a happy closet. The core 4 are ways that you can keep the activity moving all the time. But most importantly is that you're listing every single day, even if it's only 5. If that's all you can manage, then be consistent and list 5 new listings a day. And then try for 6 and try for 7 and start scheduling them out ahead of time. And you will thank yourself. You will thank yourself in the long run. Core 4, run sales 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Delist, relist every day. Have best offers on and always counter. And list new listings every single day, no matter what. Let's briefly talk about promoted because it's on the peripheral of the core 4. It's like the honorary mention at number 5. We should all be running promoted listings. The click for sale, or sorry, I said that wrong. We don't want the clicks. You want to do the promoted listings. My phone is going wild. It's reminding me to drink my water. You want to have the one where you pay per sale. The pay-per-clicks is a waste of money. Think about it. Most of the looky-loos and the watchers and the people who are peeking at your items but never purchasing, those can be window shoppers that are never going to be serious. Most of the time, the majority of that is other sellers. If you're a public figure like me and you're on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and you have a public eBay store, everybody and their brother and their brother's wife and her kids are all coming and looking at your store. That's where the watchers and the views come from. And if you're not a public figure, you're still having other sellers look at your stuff to comp it. So they're looking at your Beetlejuice cup to see what you're priced it for. So most of the clicks on your items, the looks, the views, the watchers, that's typically going to be other sellers. If you have a public store, it's because they want to learn from you or people are comping off of you. I'm not going to pay for every time somebody looks at one of my items. I don't like the pay-per-clicks. That's my opinion. Should be yours too. But the paper sales is okay. I have never gone over 2%. I know a lot of people do because they want to be more competitive. I don't think that's necessary. I sell probably the most oversaturated, competitive, low sell-through rate items. If you have antiques or vintage items or rare electronics or collectibles, you don't have a lot of competition, so you probably don't even really need to promote. But if you did, I would only do 1 or 2%. I don't like to pay for promoted listings. I don't want to have to do it. I don't like it. I hate paying for it. But at the end of the day, you have to, because if you don't, you are going to lose any kind of competition or leg up that you have, especially with what I sell. There are 5,300 million.5 other sellers selling American jeans and American Eagle jeans, and they're all promoting at 2%. So if I don't also promote at 2%, I'm going to be lost in the fray, even with my core 4, but I'm not getting more than 2%. I think any more than that, you're already paying a store subscription fee. You're already paying final value fees on your shipping and the taxes as well. Don't forget that. Your final value fees are on the total cost. You can do 5% if you want, personally, if you can afford it, if it doesn't make you feel stabby. The 2% makes me angry. I don't recommend any more than 2%. And I'm in the most competitive categories, I think. I think if you do the core 4 and you have the minimum promoteds on, you'll be fine. Another question I got was, do I do the same promoted? Yes. I promote my entire store at 2%. But guess what else I do? This is weird, but it works. So I start and stop my promoted listings just like I do my sales, because I think it still creates that sense of urgency, not so much for buyers, but for the algorithm. And it's part of my routines. It's part of my schedule. So on Friday mornings when I go in and set up my sales for the week, I end my promoted listing campaign and I start a new one. And I set an end date for the next Friday and put my whole store in it. So I promote everything in my store at 2%. I have it grabbing all the new listings too. But I start and stop it once a week. I actually put the end date on the campaign. So I tell it to end the next Friday. Sometimes when I go in to do this, it's already ended itself. Why do I do this? Because I feel like it's that sense of urgency, but with Cassini. So let's say you have a promoted listing campaign set up indefinitely with no end date. Cool. You're probably going to get preferential treatment or a boost in searches over someone who doesn't have any promoted listings on. Absolutely. eBay's algorithm is going to push the folks making them more money up ahead of the people who aren't. So you're going to get a boost over people with no promoted. And the higher percentage you're paying, obviously, the higher the boost. But if it's indefinitely and it's forever and there's no end in sight, and my campaign ends tomorrow, it's Thursday night, she's going to start pushing my stuff ahead of yours, because Cassini's going to want to she's going to want to eke out every penny, every extra percent, every bit of profit. This is just my thoughts. I cannot prove this. It's not like eBay wrote up a report in Times Magazine about this. This is just my thought process, because I know how the sales work. I know how the algorithm works. Keith's an IT computer guy. I know how things like this work. So in my mind, why wouldn't it work this way? If you and I both sell similar items and we both have a 2% promoted campaign running, yours has no end, indefinite, mine has a deadline, she's probably going to give me preferential over you, because before mine ends, it has a deadline. It has an end. Before that ends, she's going to want to push all my stuff out, make sure I get more sales, and bring in all those extra profits. That's just my thoughts. I do notice a boost in sales every Friday going into the weekend. I haven't done any research on like not stopping and starting my promoted on Friday to see if my sales still increase, because it could be anything. We do the 30% sales. People get paid on Fridays. It's the weekend. It could be any number of things. But when everything's working in tandem, when I have my core 4 and the way I do my promoted, and I always see my sales so good on the weekend, I don't want to change any one thing because it's all working together and it's working well for me. So those are my best business practices. I know this was a really long video, but I wanted to make sure that I explained very clearly why, how, the steps, and how I do everything. If you still need help, you want more tutorials, more help, whatever, let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to help anybody. I want all of us to be successful. I want all of us to be profitable. So if you need further help, let me know. Chances are 90% of the time I already had a video out about what you're asking, and I'll just send you the link and it's fine. But I'm more than happy to help anyone at any time. So leave your questions in the comments if you have them. Join my Facebook group, Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. And a very special thank you, shout out to all of my really good friends at List Perfectly who come to my 2 weekly. I have a crafting party Wednesday nights and a true crime party Fridays. You guys actually have taught me a lot from being around you. I said, I'm never in a group of resellers and I don't learn something new. So you guys have all taught me a lot, but you also help to encourage me and motivate me on the days I just don't feel like it. We have fun. True crime is fun. I really appreciate you guys coming to that and participating in one of my passions in life with me. But you guys always give me ideas. You give me most of my YouTube ideas with the conversations that we have and the questions that we all talk about with each other and answer. So I do appreciate you guys. I hope you know that. And the viewers of this channel, I hope you know how much I appreciate you too. I do. Sometimes I sit in this office and I feel like I'm just talking to my wall, but I know there's people out there. I'm talking to actual real people who have supported this channel since 2018, and my friends from List Perfectly, and everyone that helps me do what I do. I do appreciate you guys. And if you need help, always, always, always ask, okay? So go put these core 4 into play. Start doing these. Start experimenting. Start seeing what works for you. Be productive. Consistency. Good routines. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.